If you're a parent, teacher, or school leader, and you're sick and tired of the frustration, anger, and unfair treatment of children at high risk in our public schools, then perhaps it's time for all of us to do something about it. In this podcast, Dr. Almitra Berry brings you tips, tools, strategies, and tactics to build successful solutions while touching, moving, and inspiring all of us to transform our schools so that every child thrives. Here's your host, Dr. Berry.
The future belongs to those who prepare for it today. Equity warriors, these are powerful words from Malcolm X, and they set the stage for our journey today. For those of you just joining us, I'm Dr. Almitra Berry, and welcome to the Educational Equity Emancipation Podcast. It is February 3rd, 2025, and we're kicking off Black Futures Month with a bang. Before we dive in, I want to give a heartfelt shout out to all our new Patreon subscribers. Folks, your support fuels this mission to create equitable educational spaces. So if you're not yet a patron, join our community at patreon.com/3E podcast and help us amplify voices for educational equity. Now, let's talk about why we're here today. As educators in K-12 public schools, you're on the front lines of shaping young minds and futures, but let's be real. The challenges we face in 2025 are more daunting than ever before. We are still grappling with educational disparities, systemic racism, and now an intensified push to erase Black history and limit discussions on race in our classrooms. I know you feel it. The frustration when your curriculum is scrutinized for being too woke, the fear when discussing current events could become a political minefield, the anger when you see your Black and brown students still struggling to access the same opportunities as their lighter-skinned, non-Black and brown peers. But this month, we're not just looking back at these challenges. I want us to gaze forward. I want us to envision a future where Black excellence is not just celebrated, but expected and nurtured from the very earliest stages of education. This is what Black Futures Month is all about. Think about it. For decades, we have commemorated February, Black History Month. It's been crucial in highlighting the too often overlooked contributions of Black Americans. But stepping into 2025, I'd like for all of you to join a growing movement to shift our focus. We are not going to forget about our history. Never. Far from it. We stand on the shoulders of those giants, those pioneers in Black America who have come before us. But what we want to do this year, this month, is to use that knowledge as a launch pad for innovation, for creativity, and for progress. Black Futures Month is about celebration, vision, empowerment. It's about seeing our Black children not just as learners, as scholars, but as the architects of tomorrow. Black Futures Month is about reimagining our curriculum to include not just historical Black narratives. Those are important. They are critical. But futuristic narratives as well. Now, I can almost hear some of you thinking, but Doc, with all the pushback we're getting, how can we possibly do this? And I hear you. The anti-equity efforts of MAGA Republicans and their allies have created a challenging environment for every single one of us, for frontline educators, for administrators, school board members, parent community activists. All of us, and especially you. They have passed laws restricting discussions on race. They have banned books by Black authors. They've even threatened to defund schools that promote diversity and inclusion. But here's the thing. Black folks, we've faced challenges before, and we've overcome them. Educators, we have faced challenges before, and we've overcome them. We're educators. We are innovators. We are change makers. And most importantly, we are resilient as hell. So let's talk about how we can navigate these challenges and still create a space for Black history and Black futures in our classroom. So again, looking forward, let's look at some inspiring Black achievers who are shaping the future right now. In STEM, we have Dr. Marina Robinson Snowden, the first Black woman to earn a PhD in nuclear engineering from MIT. She has served as a senior advisor in the U.S. Department of State for Nuclear Arms Control. She's currently a senior engineer in the National Security Analysis Department at the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory. Think about the doors she's opening for young Black girls interested in STEM and the model, the example she sets for young Black folk. Then there's Senegal Alfred Mabry, a fourth-year PhD candidate in the neuroscience area of the Department of Psychology at Cornell University. He's not only conducting groundbreaking research on Parkinson's disease, but he's also working to democratize science. His work shows our young scholars that they can pursue cutting-edge research while also giving back to their communities. In the arts, we have Alexandria Tarver. She's an emerging artist known for her captivating floral paintings that explore themes of nature and mourning. And Chiffon Thomas, a multimedia sculptor whose work poses questions about Black bodies and the spaces that they inhabit. These artists are pushing boundaries and challenging perceptions, showing our young learners the power of artistic expression. But I want to focus on education because that is where many of us live and breathe. One of the programs I talk about frequently is the Call Me Mr. program, and Dr. Rashad Anderson is doing incredible work as the director of that program. This initiative is dedicated to supporting and mentoring Black male educators, while the program is open to all. We know the impact that Black male teachers can have, especially on young Black boys. Dr. Anderson's work emphasizes culturally responsive teaching and social justice issues in education, aiming to address and reduce racial, gender, and class oppression in the K-12 educational system. His work is helping to create a pipeline of these much needed role models. And then there's Sharif El-Mekki. He's the founder of the Center for Black Educator Development. His pioneering efforts to rebuild the Black teacher pipeline are notable. His work reminds us of the importance of representation in our classrooms, and it gives us a roadmap for increasing diversity in our teaching force. Folks, these achievers are not one-offs, and they are making history, but they are actively shaping the future. And that future is what we want our young Black scholars to see and believe about themselves. Now, you might be wondering, how does all this connect to our daily lives in the classrooms? Why should we care about Black Futures Month? We're just trying to get through our daily lessons, get through our day, hold on to our jobs without controversy. Here's why it matters. The future of education is intrinsically tied to the future of our society. And by fostering an environment where Black futures are prioritized, we're not just uplifting one community, we are enriching the potential of our entire nation, whether they want us to or not. And when we implement Black future thinking in our classroom, we're challenging our learners, we're challenging all of our learners to think critically about the world around them. We're encouraging them to imagine possibilities beyond their current circumstances. We're showing them that their voices, their ideas, their innovations matter. And again, I know what you're thinking. This sounds great, Doc, but how do we actually do this in our classrooms without getting in trouble with all these new restrictive laws? And I hear you. It is a delicate balance, but it's not impossible. Let me give you some actionable strategies that you can implement even in 2025 and what's going on today. First, let's talk about implementing what's called Afrofuturism in your curriculum. Now, before you panic, because that word Afro is in there, and you don't want that in your lesson plans because you could get in trouble, hear me out. Afrofuturism is simply a cultural aesthetic that combines science fiction, history, and fantasy to explore the Black American experience and connect those to the past, the present, and the future. It's not about promoting any particular ideology. It's about imagination and possibility. So if you teach literature, social sciences, drama, think about it, science fiction, history, and fantasy, there's a place in there for you. You can integrate works by Black sci-fi authors like Octavia Butler and N.K. Jemisin into your literature classes. You can use these narratives to spark discussions about technology, society, and the future. These conversations don't have to be about race. They can be about ethics and technology, environmental challenges, social structures. The beauty of science fiction is that it allows us to explore complex ideas in a removed context. Think about it. Then, strategy number 2, consider creating future labs in your schools. Now, these can be spaces where learners can engage in project-based learning focused on solving future challenges. This isn't about race, it's about innovation. But by ensuring that Black innovators and their contributions are visible in these spaces, you're subtly reinforcing the message that Black children have a place in shaping the future. And now, let's talk about incorporating more Black authors into your curriculum. And this one, yes, can be tricky given the current climate, but it is not impossible. You see, the key is to choose texts that speak to universal experiences, while they just happen to be written by Black authors. For example, Brown Girl Dreaming by Jacqueline Woodson. Yes, I know, don't get hung up on the title. Hang on. It is a beautiful memoir about childhood and finding one's voice. It's not just a Black story, it's a human story that happens to be told by a Black author. Use the concept of history and me to celebrate the richness of Black American history and the roles individuals have played in bringing about societal change. This approach allows students to see themselves as part of a continuum of change makers, regardless of their background. And make sure that you're including some mirror books that reflect all learners, their families, and their communities in positive ways. I write about mirror books in my book, The Culturally Competent Educator, that is coming out this spring. Again, stay tuned for that. Mirror books. And this, again, isn't about promoting any particular book, any particular group of people. It's about ensuring that every single student can see themselves represented in the literature they read. Representation matters. Now, I want to challenge each of you to become a future architect in your educational space. It doesn't matter if you're a teacher, administrator, community member. Commit to one concrete action this month that propels Black futures forward. Maybe it's introducing a new book by a Black author in your class. Maybe it's starting a future-focused project in your school. It could be as simple as highlighting a current Black achiever in your morning announcements. But whatever it is you choose, share your commitment on social media using hashtag BlackFuturesEDU. Let's create a ripple effect of change. Let's show that even now, even given what is happening in this country, we are still committed to creating equitable, forward-thinking educational spaces. Remember, Equity Warriors, we're not just teaching history. We're not just teaching literature. We are helping, or science, or math. I don't want my content area folks mad at me. We're not just providing instruction. We are helping to shape the future. Every single time you encourage a Black child to dream big, every single time you challenge a stereotype in your classroom or in a faculty meeting or at a school board meeting, Every time you introduce your learners to diverse perspectives, as a school leader, every time you challenge your teachers to consider diverse perspectives, you're contributing to a better future for all of us. And join me again next episode. If you've got a question, a topic you'd like covered, or a special request, you know it. You can text it to me. Just look down in the notes below for the link. As always, I want to hear from you. And remember, don't worry about the things you cannot change. 2025 is here. Let's change the things we cannot accept. And that's a wrap for today's episode of the 3E Podcast. Now, here's how you can make a real difference. First, smash that subscribe button. It's free. It's easy. Just do it. Second, share the show with anyone you know who cares about education. And third, consider becoming a supporter of the show. Together, we're not just talking about change, we're making it happen. Make a donation today to be part of that mission and change, and I'll catch you next time.